भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये। नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तम श्लोके भक्तिर्भवती नैष्टिकी। Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd Canto, Chapter 27, Text 25. Yatha hi apratibuddhasya prasvapo bahv-anartha-bhrt sa eva pratibuddhasya na vai mohaya kalpate. यथा हि अप्रतिबुद्धस्य प्रस्वापो bahv-anartha-bhrt स एव प्रतिबुद्धस्य न वै मोहाय कल्पते। यथा हि अप्रतिबुद्धस्य प्रस्वापो bahv-anartha-bhrt स एव प्रतिबुद्धस्य न वै मोहाय कल्पते। यथा हि अप्रतिबुद्धस्य प्रस्वापो bahv-anartha-bhrt स एव प्रतिबुद्धस्य न वै मोहाय कल्पते।
यथा ह्यप्रतिबुद्धस्य प्रस्वापो bahv-anartha-bhrt स एव प्रतिबुद्धस्य न वै मोहाय कल्पते।
यथा हि अप्रतिबुद्धस्य शापो अनर्थभृत् स एव प्रतिबुद्धस्य न वै मोहाय कल्पते।
यथा हि अप्रतिबुद्धस्य प्रस्वापो bahv-anartha-bhrt स एव प्रतिबुद्धस्य न वै मोहाय कल्पते।
यथा हि अप्रतिबुद्धस्य प्रस्वापो bahv-anartha-bhrt स एव प्रतिबुद्धस्य न वै मोहाय कल्पते।
यथा हि अप्रतिबुद्धस्य प्रस्वापो bahv-anartha-bhrt स एव प्रतिबुद्धस्य न वै मोहाय कल्पते।
यथा हि अप्रतिबुद्धस्य प्रस्वापो bahv-anartha-bhrt स एव
Mataji is yatha, as he indeed apratibuddhasya, of one who is sleeping, prasvapo, the dream, bahv-anartha-bhrt, bearing many inauspicious things, sa eva, that very dream, pratibuddhasya, of one who is awake, na, not, vai, certainly, mohaya, for bewildering, kalpate, is capable. Translation by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. In the dreaming state, one's consciousness is almost covered, and one sees many inauspicious things. But when he is awakened and fully conscious, such inauspicious things cannot bewilder him. Please repeat after me. In the dreaming state, one's consciousness is almost covered, and one sees many inauspicious things. But when he is awakened and fully conscious, such inauspicious things cannot bewilder him. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. In the condition of dreaming, when one's consciousness is almost covered, one may see many unfavorable things which cause disturbance or anxiety. But upon awakening, although he remembers what happened in the dream, he is not disturbed. Similarly, the position of self-realization or understanding of one's real relationship with the Supreme Lord makes one completely satisfied. And the three modes of material nature, which are the cause of all disturbances, cannot affect him. In contaminated consciousness, one sees everything to be for his own enjoyment. But in pure consciousness or Krishna consciousness, he sees that everything exists for the enjoyment of the Supreme Enjoyer. That is the difference between the dream state and wakefulness. The state of contaminated consciousness is compared to dream consciousness, and Krishna consciousness is compared to the awakened stage of life. Actually, as stated in Bhagavad-gita, the only absolute enjoyer is Krishna. One who can understand that Krishna is the proprietor of all three worlds and that he is the friend of everyone is peaceful and independent. As long as the conditioned soul does not have this knowledge, he wants to be the enjoyer of everything. He wants to become a humanitarian or philanthropist and open hospitals and schools for his fellow human beings. This is all illusion, for one cannot benefit anyone by such material activities. If one wishes to benefit his fellow brother, he must awaken his dormant Krishna consciousness. The Krishna conscious position is that of pratibuddha, which means pure consciousness. Yatha hi apratibuddhasya prasvapo bahv-anartha-bhrt. sa eva pratibuddhasya na vai mohaya kalpate. In the dreaming state, one's consciousness is almost covered and one sees many inauspicious things. But when he is awakened and fully conscious, such inauspicious things cannot bewilder him. So, Devahuti asked Kapildev questions, and Kapildev is answering the questions of his mothers. It all started with when Kapil Muni's father, Kardama Muni, left home, and his mother was in Kapildev's custody. They were residing in Bindu Sarovar, on the bank of the Bindu Sarovar. There Kapildev is instructing his mother. The last question that Devahuti asked was whether a living entity can ever become free from the entanglement of material nature. Her question was, Kapildev was explaining the very wonderful effect of this material nature on living entities. How the living entities become entangled by the modes of material nature. And then he gets entangled with the gross body and subtle body. Rather, the subtle body and gross body. Subtle body comes first. And it is actually very difficult involvement. The way living entity becomes entrapped by the material nature, Gunamayi, who is endowed with three modes: mode of goodness, mode of passion, and mode of ignorance. And it all due to his avidya, due to his ignorance. And what is the ignorance? The ignorance is forgetfulness of Krishna. When a living entity forgets Krishna, he plunges into ignorance. He drowns in ignorance. So when one is thus covered by ignorance, in one hand he is covered by ignorance, and at the same time the influence of the material nature is so overwhelming. So living entity becomes completely bound or entrapped in the material nature. And then living entity develops his false ego. That is the bewildering influence of Lord's external energy. The false ego makes the living entity think that he is the enjoyer. Then he gets entangled with, or he gets covered by intelligence, and he begins to plan. Thinking himself to be the enjoyer, he plans how he is going to enjoy. That is the influence of intelligence. And then through his mind, his consciousness flows towards the material direction constantly. So it's a very difficult entanglement. Like if somebody becomes bound or imprisoned in a prison house, just consider he is first tied with chains. Then his whole body is tied with chains. Then he is put into a box. And the box is sealed by metal. Like the whole box is now. So how the person will come out? So Devahuti's question was something like that the living entity is in such a difficult situation, how the living entity will ever become free from the material bondage? Or how can a prisoner who is in that condition, can you imagine yourself? Not just hands and feet are tied with chains. Your whole body is wrapped with chains. And then you are put in a coffin, in a box. The box is then nailed. And then the box is put inside a metal. Then the metal is poured on the box. And it becomes sealed. So that is how can you ever come out of this condition? So our condition in the material nature is even worse than that. And not only that, we are in that situation, but the bewildering energy of the Lord is making us think that we are in a very nice situation. We are in such a difficult situation, but we are thinking, I'm fine. See, in one hand, it's an impossible situation to get out from, and you are not aware of your difficult situation. You are thinking that, well, I'm enjoying, or I can enjoy. But what was Kapil Dev's answer to that? Kapil Dev's answer was that yes, it is possible to get out of this difficult situation by performance of devotional service. If you perform devotional service to Krishna, then you will become free from that condition. And in this verse, then he explained the living entity's different condition. A spirit soul can be in 3 different stages of consciousness. One stage of consciousness is like being in deep sleep, then dream state, and then wakeful state. Don't we also experience these 3 states of existence? We are awake. Our one state is, now we are awake. But then when you fall asleep, we do not become totally unconscious. We still remain conscious. That is in a dream state. And then we become, dream state also disappears and we become engrossed in deep sleep. These are the 3 stages that have been considered as the wakeful state is jagaran or jagratavastha, wakeful state, and shapnavastha, dream state, or shushupti, nidra or shushupti, that dreamless sleep state. So that is a material condition. In the material nature, we go through these 3 stages of existence. Wakeful state means when the gross body and subtle body both are active. Dream state is when the gross body is inactive but the subtle body is active. And Shushupti is the state when both the gross body and subtle body are inactive. Anyway, that is just an example, just a material condition that living entity is in. But Kapil Dev is actually making a condition, making a point, that just as when one wakes up from the dream state, then the effect of the dream state becomes totally meaningless to him. Whereas when he is dreaming, then he becomes affected by that. Like in a dream state, when you are dreaming, that in a dream state, he is pointing out first that there are many inauspicious dreams. When we dream, we sometimes dream of inauspicious things. And those inauspicious things affect us. They affect us very much. Like for example, in a dream, if you see that a tiger is coming to attack you, then what happens? You scream, because you are afraid that you feel that the tiger is going to come and eat you up. That fear causes you to become affected by that. Or you dream so many inauspicious things. Like say in a dream you see that somebody very dear to you has died. How will you feel? You feel that you won't, at that time you won't think it's a dream. You think it's real. And you will be affected by that. Or in a dream you see that you lost all your money. You have become pauper, you don't have any money. And you are in a strange place. Then how will you feel? You'll be affected by that. Like we can recall, we can remember that so many times we have so many such dreams. And how did you feel at that time? Didn't you get affected by that? But as soon as you woke up, then what happens? Then you feel relief. Oh, after all, it was not real. Oh, my friend didn't die. Or it was not a tiger. It was just a dream. So you feel relief. You are not affected by that condition. So what Kapil Dev is pointing out here is that this conditioned state that we living entities in the material nature, due to his bondage, is like a dream state. It's like a dream. And when you wake up, then what happens? In the material nature we have many difficulties. We undergo various difficulties in the material nature. And we become affected by that. We come to a situation when it happens, someone very dear to us dies. Then you feel, oh, what's the point in living now? Like Romeo and Juliet. You know the story of Romeo and Juliet? Romeo and Juliet were deeply in love with each other. But their family didn't approve of it, especially the girl's family. Then it so happened that the girl decided to pretend that she is dead, and she took some medicine. That medicine would make her feel dead, look dead for the time being, and then she would wake up. And when Romeo came and found that Juliet was dead in that condition, he killed himself. Then Juliet woke up and found Romeo is dead. She killed herself. So, the material nature is like that. We become affected by such situations, such happenings. We love somebody very dearly, and if we don't get that person, or if we lose that person, then we even kill ourselves. Or sometimes it happens, somebody loses his money and kills himself. Or somebody, he loses something that is very dear to him, he kills himself. Like I remember, once in Calcutta, somebody built an illegal house. He built a house on a land that was not really his land, it was government's land. And then government came and sent a notice that they will break the house. And that person was so heartbroken that he jumped from the top of the house and killed himself. So things like that happen. Huh? But these are all actually dream state. Recently in America it happened, like one person, because he lost his money, he killed his children, killed his wife, then he killed himself. So people, due to their loss of material things or material relationship, they destroy themselves. This is how people become affected by material, inauspicious happenings of the material nature, like loss of a friend, loss of money, loss of wealth, loss of reputation. But the thing is, Kapil Dev is pointing out that a person who is in Krishna consciousness, he doesn't become affected by that, because he knows these are all dreams. This is nothing but a dream. The reality is Krishna consciousness. That also, it has been explained that there are two types of dreams. One is an individual dream, another is a collective dream. Like when we fall asleep and dream, then only we dream ourselves. The person sleeping next to you or lying next to you will not be experiencing the same dream, isn't it? That is an individual dream. But whatever has happened to us in the material nature is a collective dream. Whoever is present here will go through the same dream. So this is the material nature. Like our understanding is that it is a kind of a dream. Material existence is like a dream, but it's a collective dream. Therefore our understanding is that it is not mitha, it is not false. It is real. When you are dreaming, you are dreaming. As a dream it is real. And especially this collective dream. Our individual dream is the soul's falling asleep and acting on the subtle bodily platform. That is the individual dream. And what is the collective dream? The collective dream is the dream or projection of Mahavishnu's glance. Whoever is involved, all the living entities, those who are in this material nature which is caused due to the effect of Mahavishnu's glance towards Maya, will go through the same experience. It is real. Mahavishnu's glance is real. But a living entity, when he wakes up, what is the waking up state? The waking up state is to see, first thing is, to see that this is the material nature, the cause of material nature, due to Mahavishnu's glance towards the material nature. And we must become submissive to his will, Krishna's will, Mahavishnu's will, which is being projected in this material nature in various ways. Like the effect of his glance is time. And the material nature is endowed with three modes. And we are simply helpless creatures. As Bhaktivedanta Thakur is saying, Jiva Jago, Jeev Jago. Sleeping souls, wake up, wake up. Now, how do we wake up? What is the process to wake up? The process to wake up is devotional service. Recognize Krishna and surrender unto him. So that is the beginning. Mam ekam sharanam braja. That Sharanang Braja, or Sharanagati, surrender, is the beginning of devotional service. It begins with that surrender. So, whatever is happening, whether we are enjoying or whether we are suffering, whether we are in distressful condition or whether we are in a pleasing condition, they are all matter of Godhead. Then what happens? He just stands aside and he watches whatever is happening to his life. It's just happening due to the arrangement of guna and karma. There is nothing that I can actually do. Only thing I can do is surrender to Krishna. The only thing I can do is to accept it as Krishna's mercy. Affected by ghosts. What happens? When you get affected by a ghost, did you ever get affected by a ghost? You feel that you can't breathe. You feel that someone is suffocating you. Someone is, and then what happens? You chant Hare Krishna, and the ghost runs for his life. Then you wake up. Then what happens? Then you realize there's nothing to be worried of. Although at that, say anything. But when you wake up, then what happens? Are you afraid? Although you may be alone in the room and the room is dark, but now you are not afraid of the ghost. happens when we take to Krishna consciousness, when we take shelter of Krishna's lotus feet. Long time back, Prabhupada actually narrated a story like that, which was recorded in a form of an article by one devotee. Prabhupada is actually describing how it is like to going back to the spiritual sky. Prabhupada is describing that it's just like waking up from a dream. And you find yourself there in the spiritual sky. You wake up to what? When you wake up to something, to some situation. What situation do you wake up? You wake up in Krishna Loka. It's real. Krishna is there. Krishna's devotees are there. Srimati Radharani is there. The cowherd boys are there. The cows are there. Nanda Maharaj is there. Mother Jashoda is there. Only Kamsa is not there. So that's the spiritual sky. And you wake up there. In Brihad Bhagavatamrita, Sanatana Goswami very wonderfully described that, a living entity is going back to Krishna. It is real. He finds himself in that situation. He sees that they're cowherd boys, they're cowherd girls. And the whole atmosphere is so beautiful. It's just as Brahma described. Chintamani prakara sadmasu, kalpa vriksha laksha britesu, surabhir abhipalayantam. That is how the spiritual sky is. It's made of chintamani. Prakara sadmasu. The houses there are built with chintamani. And there are trees, but what are those trees? Kalpa vriksha. It's a forest full of trees, but what kind of trees? They all are desire trees. And kalpa vriksha lakshabriteshu surabhir abhipalayant. There are many, many cows. But they are not ordinary cows. They all are surabhi cows. The cow's surabhi is so beautiful that even the demigods become attracted to surabhi. Surabhi abhipalayantam. And Krishna is tending those cows. Yes, we wake up in that reality. And what is the difference between this world and that world? In this world, we are trying to become the enjoyers ourselves. And in that world, Krishna is the supreme enjoyer. He is the enjoyer. Everything belongs to him. Everything is meant for his enjoyment. Bhoktarang jaggatapasam sarvaloko maheshwara. Sarvaloko maheshwara. As Prabhupada ended this purport with that. To wake up in spiritual reality means to recognize that situation, that Krishna is the supreme enjoyer. And then when we recognize that and act in that understanding, then shanti mrichati. We achieve perfect happiness, perfect peace. So that is the spiritual reality. Inauspiciousness means disturbance of mind. All the disturbances disappear when we simply accept Krishna as the supreme enjoyer and supreme proprietor, and at the same time, Suridam Sarva Bhutanam. He is the dearmost friend of everyone. In one hand, he is the Bhoktarang, supreme enjoyer. Sarva Loko Maheshwaram, he is the supreme proprietor. But at the same time, Suridam Sarva Bhutanam. He is the dearmost friend to everyone. You have a friend who owns everything. And he is the supreme enjoyer. He is enjoying everything. Everything is meant for his enjoyment. Then when you recognize that and you enter into his enjoyment, then you also enjoy. But how to enter into his enjoyment? You enter into his enjoyment by providing for his enjoyment. Like how does the servant enter into his master's enjoyment? The servant enters into the master's enjoyment by providing for the master's enjoyment. Like you're a servant. Say, try to consider this situation. A very rich man is throwing a party. A very rich man is throwing a party. You can enter into the party if you are invited. If you are not invited, will you be able to enter into the party? The gatekeeper will ask you, where is the card? He said, no, please, I'm sorry. You can't get in. But if you come with a basket of food and as the servant, then you get an entry. Not only that, the gatekeeper helps you. Oh, the basket is too heavy for you. Come, I'll help you. So this is the right way to enter into the party of a rich man. You enter as a servant. And then you see the party is going on. And your master is so kind. Although you are his servant, but he is your suhrid. He is your friend. Although you are thinking that you are his servant, but he is thinking you are his friend. And that is how wonderful this master is. And he says, come. You also enjoy in the party. You also dance in the party with Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So that is how one can enjoy in the most wonderful way in the supreme enjoyer's arrangement. So that's what Kapil Dev is pointing out to his mother. Through his mother, he is actually instructing us. Now we can also relate to a verse in Bhagavad-gita. Daivi hesha gunamayi mama maya durattaya. But mame vaje prapaddante maya me tang tarantite. It is impossible to get out of this material bondage. Durattaya. It's impossible to surmount. Impossible to go across. Because it's daivi. It's daivi, it's divine. And it's my maya, my illusory energy. How can anyone ever get out of it? By the influence of this material nature. But mame bhaja prapaddante. When one surrenders unto me, prapaddante, prapatti. When one surrenders unto me, maya me tang tarantite. Very easily he goes across this dangerous ocean of material nature. In one hand, it's a difficult situation, but at the same time, it's very easy to overcome. Just like the Atlantic Ocean is very vast. Is it possible to cross the Atlantic Ocean? But when you board a plane, then in just few hours you are across the Atlantic Ocean. Do you even notice that you have made any effort or endeavor? Just you have been sitting there in the plane and the plane takes you across. So devotional service is something like that. As easily we can cross the ocean of material nature. Thank you very much. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Gaur Premanande Hari Hari. Purnapraga Prabhu, do you have any comment? Thank you. Any question? Yes, Shankar, right?
When we are Krishna conscious, then the material nature is a dream for us. And similarly, can we think like that when we come to know that we are not a body, we are soul. So for soul, the material nature is a dream.
Yeah. The thing is that everybody is in the material nature. In the material nature, everyone is going through the dream. Not that we think it's a dream. But when we become Krishna conscious, then we wake up from the dream. And yes, it is true also. Then when we realize it was a dream, when you wake up. The thing is, and as you were saying, yes, the cause of the dream is the body. We are experiencing the dream through the body. But when we wake up in our spiritual consciousness, beyond our both gross and subtle bodily concept of life, then yes, we wake up. Yes. The wake up, who wakes up? Body doesn't wake up. Body wakes up from the material sleep. But the soul will wake up into Krishna consciousness. Yes, Krishna Chand.
You gave the example of how a person can enter into the party given by a rich man. Now, as you said, unless invited, one cannot actually enter. But if one has some service, then he can do so. So now, if someone has the desire to do some service, but he hasn't been asked to do, or he hasn't got the opportunity to, know the desire of the master and how to serve him, and how does he go about, entering into the party?
Yeah, right. The thing is that to serve means that, you see, it has to be according to the will of the master. The servant, master tells the servant, bring something, or master sends a messenger to tell the servant that, oh, I want 25 buckets of gulab jamun, right? And then you carry the buckets. But if the master doesn't want it, then it is not service as such. You can't whimsically say that this is what I am going to serve. The master says, you cook something. Master may tell you, you make the menu. Sometimes the master says, okay, tells the servant, you make the menu. Then the servant makes the menu himself. But good servant, what does he do? He takes the menu and reads it out to the master. Do you think it's all right? The master says yes. So service means it has to be in conformity with the master's desire. As Prabhupada sometimes would give the example, the master wants some water and you take some milk. Thinking that, well, milk is more valuable than water, so let me take some milk. Now, will it be service? No. Service means what he wants, give it to him. Okay. কি এটা? তোমার কোয়েশ্চেন? Anyway, I'll just read it. It's a long question. Okay. It starts with Guru Maharaj, all glories to you. My humble obeisances, so and so forth. Anyway, mercifully explain to me that yesterday evening you explained that Krishna is present everywhere in the temple as Sri Sri Gaurnitai, Sri Sri Radha Madan Mohan, Sri Sri Krishna Balaram, and even inside our heart of every living entity, and also from the holy name and Guru, the Shastra say that six enemy, kam, etc., la puja pratishtha are material. The living entity, part and parcel of Krishna, eternal servant of Krishna. So why I am not understanding or remembering or remembering always that I am a servant of Krishna. Krishna is my friend. If my mistake, mercifully forgive me. Okay, Abhiram Gopal. Yeah, you see, the process begins through the devotional service, and by practicing the process, it happens. Then you realize. Now, the moment you start, you may not realize it immediately. That how Krishna is everywhere, how Krishna is present in the temple as the deities, how Krishna's name is non-different from Krishna, how Krishna is there in our own hearts and Krishna is also there in everyone's heart. But although we may not realize it immediately, but if we practice the process, then in course of time, when we become perfect, then we will see that. So the point is, we simply have to practice the process. Just practice the process and it will happen. Is it happen gradually? Aren't you, when you first, like what happens? Initially when we see the temple, the deities in the temple, do we recognize that this is Krishna? No. But as we make advancement, the more we advance, the more we recognize that the deities are Krishna himself. So it is synonymous or it is relative to our advancement. The more we advance, the more we'll see that the deity as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The more we make advancement, we will see the holy name is the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself. The more we make advancement, we will see the Lord in the heart of every living entity. So it is a matter of advancement and purification. Yes, Mukunda?
Sometimes people see auspicious dreams also, and they turn out to be real. So what would be the
Yeah. Okay, so here you see inauspicious and auspicious. Inauspicious indicated that undesirable dreams. The undesirable dreams cause anxiety. Desirable dreams are fine, sweet dreams. We even have a sweet dream, right, before going to bed. But the real auspiciousness is to wake up from the dream. And as you were saying, sometimes we see auspicious dreams. Like, if you mean that, dreaming about Krishna, dreaming about Prabhupada, those dreams are also real. They are not dreams. They are the perception of the reality, spiritual reality. The way to recognize that they are spiritual is that when you dream that, your heart becomes filled with an indescribable experience, indescribable joy. That is an indication that they are not dreams, they are real perception of the Lord and His devotees. Yes? Oh yeah.
all dreaming in material existence. But if you surrender to Krishna and engage in devotional service, you can wake up to reality. So all devotees here, they have sincerely surrendered to Krishna and are engaging in devotional service. Are they sleeping or are they awake?
Yeah. It will depend to what extent they're in body consciousness and to what extent they're in Krishna consciousness. So, actually, if we are in Krishna consciousness, then we will see that all this is a part of Mahaprabhu's Sankirtan movement. And as a part of Mahaprabhu's Sankirtan movement, it is spiritual. But it will depend upon our own perception. Like if we see it from a impure perspective, then it is happening in the mundane world. But if we are in pure Krishna consciousness, then we'll see that this is also part of Mahaprabhu's Sankirtan movement, Sankirtan Leela, Mahaprabhu's pastimes. The living entities are being attracted gradually. And these living entities eventually will go back to the spiritual sky. Thank you, Prabhu. Yes?
You said that we are bound in chains in the material nature, and we have to suffer our karma and according to the gunas and karma. So I wanted to know if the suffering, sometimes people go to authority for making the suffering less or something. So there are law enforcing authorities also. So should we suffer like that, or it's like?
You see, as I quoted the verse, Prakrite kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvasaha ahankara vimuratma kartahamiti mannate. Being bewildered, one thinks that he is the doer. And when he thinks that he is the doer, then whatever is happening to him, he becomes affected by that. And because he is thinking he is a doer, he tries to modify the situation. He tries to adjust the situation. Right? Like he tries to enhance his enjoyment and he tries to avoid his difficulties, sufferings. But in Krishna consciousness, what one does? Krishna consciousness, one simply sees that this is all due to Krishna's divine arrangement. It's happening to make me more Krishna conscious. So when the suffering comes, he doesn't try to avoid it. He tries to rectify the suffering condition as an opportunity, or take advantage of the suffering condition as an opportunity to become more Krishna conscious. That, Krishna is actually forcing me to surrender to him. Oh, it's so nice that Krishna is actually helping me to be surrendered to him. Because when I'm enjoying, then I don't think of surrendering to Krishna. When I'm enjoying, then I'm thinking, I am the Lord and Master. So this suffering is good. Let there be more and more suffering. So that I can become more and more Krishna conscious. So that I can be surrendered to him more and more, accepting his mercy. So this is the thing, is a devotee doesn't want to avoid his suffering condition, rather he accepts the suffering condition to enhance his Krishna consciousness. That is the difference between a devotee's attitude and an enjoyer's attitude.
When he got an ahankar, then he thinks that he is the doer. When he thinks like that, he is subjected to the results of this work, karma. And then you say that if he simply watches what is happening, then he does not get the results. So, but when we actually tries to do that,
Not that, I
material
didn't say that when he observes, he doesn't get the result. He doesn't get the result or he doesn't become affected by the result when he surrenders to Krishna. You see the difference? You surrender to Krishna and accept it as Krishna's arrangement. Then you don't get affected by that.
So, but my question is like this, that even if we tries to do like that, material is so strong that we forgets. We again try, we again forgets. We again try, we again forgets. Sometimes we forget so much that we forgets to try also.
Well, that's why you have to be in the association of devotees who will remind you not to forget. If you're in the association of devotees, then what the devotees will tell you. Right? They'll remind you. That's why it's so important to be in the association of devotees. Yes, what you said is correct. We may forget, or we may not even take it seriously. We may think that, well, I'm fine. This instructions are meant for somebody else. Right? Let me enjoy. That's the material nature. But if you are with devotees, then what will the devotees tell you? Prabhu, you are in Maya. Isn't it? Now, is it good that you are reminded that you are in Maya? Good. So, that's why it's so important to remain in the association of devotees. So always stay in the association of devotees. Okay? Especially senior devotees who can guide you. Because we need to be guided. Everybody needs to be guided. And the best guidance is Prabhupada's books. So you read Prabhupada's books and Prabhupada will guide you through his instructions, through his books. And then you remain in the association of ISKCON devotees who are also following Prabhupada's instructions. They'll guide you nicely. Yeah.
Sometimes if one gets a dream of some very great devotee, Acharya or Krishna, and he gives them orders like that, and if one does not follow, will he fall down or it is an offense?
Well, when one receives some instructions from an Acharya through a dream, then it is better to verify it with some senior devotee. Right? Because it's always better to be cautious in our devotional practice. To think that, an Acharya instructed me, so I can act this way. I'm directly in communication with the Acharya. No, that is not our mood. Our mood is to be guided by the devotees who are around us. That is a safer course.
Here we have discussed two different states, dreaming and wakeful state. But there is some peculiar state called probably here awake but pretending to be sleeping. They don't want to accept that the reality, but they still want to remain in the ignorance. So how do you deal that? They don't want to wake up.
Very good. I mean, if you take it in the spiritual context, then this situation would mean that awake but pretending to be asleep. That is the position of an Uttamadhikari who is coming to the Madhyamadhikar platform to preach. Awake here is, what is that wakeful state? To be in pure Krishna consciousness is the real wakeful state. And to be dreaming means to pretend as if you are still in the material nature. That is an Uttamadhikari who comes to the material nature or comes to the Madhyamadhikar platform to preach. He pretends as if he is one of you. But he is not here, he is out there in the spiritual sky. But to benefit us, he is coming here.
I was actually asking about a person who doesn't really want to wake up. he in spite of getting the knowledge of Krishna consciousness, he may want to still, have his material attachments and that way. So, despite getting all the opportunity, he doesn't take advantage of those things. So,
So then that means he's still sleeping. He's a sleeping soul, he's not awake. So wake him up. As Bhaktivedanta Thakur is saying, wake up, wake up. Kato nidra jao maya pichachi kole. For how long you are going to sleep on the lap of Maya Pishachi, the witch who is sucking your blood? That's what the material nature is doing, drinking our blood.
I had another question.
Okay.
Well, maybe a silly question, but sometimes we address Maya as, one of the consorts of Krishna. Whereas on the other hand, we also say Maya Pishachi sometimes, and is it not an offense because Maya Devi is a divine power.
Well, when Bhaktivedanta Thakur is saying, can you find fault with him? No. It is the living entities, from living entities perspective. That is, Maya is like a Pishachi. Just like a criminal thinks that a policeman is something very inauspicious. Right? But a policeman is a policeman. He is appointed by the government. And the policeman is simply establishing law and order. Right? So, the criminal may think that he is going to punish. He is something very terrible. He is something very undesirable. That is a criminal's perspective. But when somebody is peace-loving, peaceful, and qualified, the same policeman will take him to the king. That is Maya, Yogamaya and Mahamaya. To the criminals, she is Mahamaya. To the good citizens, she is Yogamaya. It's the same Krishna's energy, functioning in two different ways due to two different types of individuals. Okay? Okay, I'll take this, then I'll take John.
There's some struggles or some some problems comes in my Krishna consciousness, then at this situation I rebel to Krishna, that rebelling tendency comes like I don't know, I'm not going to surrender you. So how can I overcome, and for next time what should I think like in that situation?
Well, you see, sometimes it happens in friendship also. You get upset with your friend and you tell her that, okay, I'm not going to meet you again. But what does your good friend say? ठीक है, cool down. Similarly, Krishna pacifies us when we revolt against him. Because he is all merciful, Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is the Supreme Father. Like, for example, you may get angry with your father, but does the father also fight with you? What does the father do? Father pacifies, come down. Right? Similarly, Krishna is our dearmost friend. Krishna is our Supreme Father. We may get angry, upset with him, but he won't get upset with us. As long as we accept his authority, as long as we become his devotees. All right?
जैसे जब कुछ प्रॉब्लम आती है तो एक दो दिन तक तो इतना स्ट्रगल लगता है कि आप चैंटिंग भी नहीं करना, और इतना मतलब इतना दुख भी होता है कि नहीं कर पा रहे हैं, मतलब पॉजिटिवली नहीं ले रहे हैं, तो उन सिचुएशन मतलब वो एक दो दिन इतना ज़्यादा लगता है कि समझ में नहीं आता है कि उसको.
When that happens, you call up Radha Pyari and tell her this is what is happening to you. And let's see what Radha Pyari will say then. Tell us. She will remind you that you are in Maya. And tell her that you chant more seriously. Alright? So that's why we have to be in the association of devotees. We have to share our feelings, we have to share our secrets to the devotees. Then the devotees will guide us properly. Jamna Priya, I'll take it after you.
Maharaj, you mentioned the cause that Krishna is the supreme enjoyer, but sometimes we try to become the enjoyer. So Maharaj, I wanted to ask that how does one rise above? Mentally, how should one work on this? To rise above the subtle desire of wanting to enjoy spiritual life and situations, especially to their own benefit. Like, for instance, we may be doing a service and it brings along some pleasure, which we might...
Some facilities, yeah.
Yes, facilities, Maharaj, and also just to be, no, look, this person is preaching and that can bring about false ego. So how, this is quite subtle. So Maharaj, how to get free of that desire?
No, there is no need to be free. Rather, we should accept it in the right spirit, right understanding, right mood. Like the servant is serving the master, and the master will automatically provide for the servant. Some facilities will come. Now the good servant will accept it as Lord's Master's mercy. Similarly, when some favorable situations come in the life of a devotee, he accepts it as Krishna's mercy. Just as when some unfavorable situation comes, he accepts that also as Krishna's mercy. Alright? And accept the situation, both the situations, to render our service better. Like, for example, you are rendering service and Kuvera comes to you and tells you, I'm so happy with you that you are serving Krishna. Here is $25 billion. You don't say, Kuvera, I don't want that. Right? Rather, you accept that, well, Krishna sent this money to use in his service. So you think of different ways how to engage that. Just to give an example. If you do not know how to engage that, you give it to the devotees who can use it properly. You give it to Vimal Krishna. Alright? So devotees do not, you see, that is the reminder that Rupa Goswami gives about the difference between false renunciation and actual renunciation. The false renunciation is thinking that these are material or these are objects of my enjoyment, so I reject them. But real renunciation is recognize that they are meant for Krishna's service. They may be coming to me, but they are not for my enjoyment. They are Krishna's, meant for Krishna's enjoyment. So I must engage them in Krishna's service. And whatever Krishna provides, you accept it. Like, for example, Krishna is living in a palace, and Krishna arranges for you also to live in the palace. Now, will you say, no, Krishna, I'll go and live in a hut, or I'll live under a tree? No. Rather, you see that there must be some reason why Krishna wants me to stay in the palace. Because staying in the palace, I can be close to him and I can serve him better. So that is the meaning of Krishna consciousness. Accepting everything with Krishna in the center. To think that these are the objects of my enjoyment, therefore I should reject, then who you are putting in the center? You are putting yourself in the center. So in every circumstances, put Krishna in the center. That's the meaning of Krishna consciousness. Yeah.
Thank you for that. I was also meaning on a more subtle level, Maharaj, as well, that when one is doing service and there is credit and praise coming, so how does one become totally free of not letting that be coming their incentive or their driving force for service? So how to become free from that subtle enjoying tendency of the praise and credit that one might get, not in a physical form, but more in credit, praise form.
Well, offer it to Srila Prabhupada. It's like somebody is glorifying you, then what is our general tendency? All glory to Srila Prabhupada. Whatever is coming to me in the form of even credit or whatever is due to Srila Prabhupada's mercy. Individually, who are we? So whatever is coming to us is due to Srila Prabhupada's mercy. So all glory to Srila Prabhupada. Yes, Puneet.
How to overcome subtle desire, especially of intelligence and false ego?
How to overcome the
subtle desire,
subtle
of intelligence and false ego?
By offering them to Krishna. Yes, same. Like intelligence and false ego, like, which means it's coming in the subtle plane. There are two planes, gross plane and subtle plane. So if something comes, our business is to offer everything to Krishna. So if something desirable comes, we offer it to Krishna. If something undesirable comes, then we say, well, this is my bad karma. That is Krishna consciousness. Yes. Purna Praga Prabhu.
I think the basic understanding that Krishna is the supreme enjoyer, actually we are not the enjoyer. Of course we can understand this intellectually, and when we're very busily engaged in devotional service, then we can certainly feel that we are engaging for Krishna's satisfaction, not our own personal satisfaction. But, for example, I was in Bali 2 months ago, and I stayed with devotees, and I would have been happy to preach every day, many times every day, morning, noon, and night. I would have been happy, but there was not much opportunity, a little bit of preaching, and some devotees took us around to beautiful beaches and beautiful scenery. I was happy to go there and enjoy it. I could not say that that activity was for Krishna's satisfaction. Certainly I felt it was for my satisfaction, but not that I forgot Krishna or forgot that I am Krishna's servant. So how would you comment upon that?
Yeah, again, I'll go back to that point of Rupa Goswami. Prapanchikataya buddha, harisambandhi vastuna, mumukshu parityago vairagyam falgu kathate. That is one kind of renunciation, but that's false renunciation. But real renunciation is the things that could have been engaged in Krishna's service. When we engage them, that is like Jatharam upajunjati. Whatever comes, we accept it. Nirbandha Krishna sambandhi, in relation to Krishna. See, the jivas also are anandamaya. It is not that jivas are meant to suffer. Jivas are also anandamaya. But that anandamaya aspect, the true anandamaya aspect of jiva, is in his connection with Krishna, in relation to Krishna. Like in the spiritual sky, Krishna is enjoying. The devotees are enjoying along with him. Like Krishna may say, let's go to the bank of Jamuna and let's have a picnic and let's have, before picnic, let's have a swim in the river and let's play. Uh, so, like whatever the situation that you are going through in Bali could also be in Vrindavan. Only thing is, the difference is that in Vrindavan you would see Krishna directly in the middle of everything, whereas in Bali it may not be apparent. But at least we can, in our consciousness, we can create that situation and see that Krishna is actually making the arrangement and he is the center. So that is how we turn the material situation into spiritual.
What I'm really thinking is that, as I say, I didn't feel bad to enjoy in that way, because if there was more preaching, I would have certainly done the preaching and sacrificed that kind of enjoying. But I think some devotees might think, well, that's Maya. So you should always be engaged in hearing, chanting, performing some service. Just to go to the beach and swim and look at the beautiful scenery, that's Maya. Of course, it's true, it is Maya in a sense, but I don't feel that if I were not to enjoy that, but to try, just force myself to be more, unenjoying, that would be actually not to my benefit. It would just put me even in a worse state of consciousness.
Yeah, well, that's why it has been advised by Sanatana Goswami in Hari Bhakti Vilas that we should be very careful before we criticize a devotee. Like as you were saying, oh, he is in Maya.
Yeah.
Right. A true, real devotee will not, will not pass some brash comment like that. Because, like what you are doing may have certain purpose, why you are doing it. And maybe that purpose is very, very Krishna conscious. So we shouldn't judge the situation just by its external appearance. Like, okay, as you are giving the example, I'll also give you an example. You are in Bali, I was in Mauritius. And in Mauritius, like I was there only for 3 days. And the schedule was very, very tight. I mean, as you were saying, full of preaching, like morning, afternoon,
You will get invited every minute comes. There's me, who wants to invite me?
No, don't worry, we'll make arrangements. Now, even in spite of that, we arranged a situation for a picnic. I told them, let's have a picnic. So I arranged a picnic, and we had it was open to all, and about 250 devotees came. Now, the reason why I wanted to have the picnic is because when I went there, I was informed that some devotees are divided. They are conflicting with each other. Actually, the situation was rather undesirable. Like devotees are conflicting. There were groupisms and etc. Now, the reason behind that picnic was to bring everyone together and then tell them what to do and what not to do. So although, like unless I invited them into a picnic, then everybody probably wouldn't have come. But that picnic provided me the forum or the platform to tell them what they needed to hear. And I tell you, it worked. It was a solid dose in the form of a picnic.
But even if the devotees were not invited, like I remember in the Prabhupada had all the devotees in San Francisco, very early days, go to the beach and they're at night and chanting on the beach.
Yeah, right.
And they built a fire.
Yeah, right.
Something like that. I think there's no harm in just doing enjoyable things in a spirit of Krishna consciousness.
Right, yeah, sure.
I think it's beneficial because if Krishna consciousness becomes too dry, then a lot of people maybe will not want to take part.
Right, yeah. Right. And Prabhupada himself gave a perfect example for that. He made such wonderful arrangement for everybody to enjoy actually, really enjoy. And that's why we are in Krishna consciousness. So yes, Krishna consciousness is again susukham kartum abhayam. It's happily executed.
In Singapore also, when I was there, devotees arranged a picnic at the beach. It's not that they were divided, but it was just, they went to the beach, they had a feast, they put on some dramas illustrating points of Krishna consciousness. They had competition who could write poems glorifying Prabhupada. But it was a pleasant setting.
Right, wonderful.
And everyone enjoyed it, I think, very much.
Right, yeah, sure. Right, that's how it should be, should be joyfully executed. Thank you. Thank you, Purnapraga Prabhu. Okay, so I'll stop now. Hare Krishna, all glories to Srila Prabhupada.